It's important during this time of lockdown that we take care of our bodies and our minds. There's a lot of stress out there and uncertainty with fear, boredom, Tiger King. It's enough to push any of us to the brink. So take steps to ensure that you're taking care of you, all of you. Thanks for joining us today. We want to spend a moment talking about the importance of self-care during this pandemic lockdown. I know that some parts of our world are beginning to reopen, and who knows if that's a wise move, but I think it demonstrates just how desperate we're starting to feel, being all cooped up with our families. I even think the cat is ready for us to go back to work. As self-employed freelance creatives, we can pretty much work from anywhere. But we can't always make a living from anywhere. So the struggle is real for us too. We need to make sure that we're staying healthy in body and in mind. Now for Bogdan, that's huge. He worked out every single day doing CrossFit before the quarantine hit. So he has to completely change his exercise regime over the last month or so. I, however, don't get any exercise at all. I've been on all kinds of diets and not been very good about keeping my weight down. So I'm trying again with Noom. And I've lost about 5 pounds in a week and a half. Exercise is tough for me, but I've started doing a little bit every day. I have to. I've got to get myself under control. So far, I'm really happy with Noom. This is not a paid endorsement, but I'm feeling pretty optimistic.
Oh, you're cooking.
Of course I'm cooking.
What you doing?
We can't go out and eat, so I have to cook.
Wow. Oh, that looks good. What is it?
Chicken kebab. You know, part of, I think, getting used to this whole thing is, making sure that you're taking care of yourself. I want to talk to you a little bit about adding meditation to your whole health and wellness routine. Because the fact is, meditation really does work. You don't have to be approaching it from a religious point of view, but you're welcome to. That certainly worked for centuries. And you can see why so many different religious traditions have incorporated meditation as part of their practice. But the point is, even if you're not religious, you can still benefit a lot from meditation. There's studies out now that say that meditation can change your blood pressure. It can make you calmer. It can bring about more happiness. It can help you with anxiety. And there are actually like physiological changes in your brain when you meditate. So there's lots of good science behind it as well, just as a good practice. Kind of like yoga. Yoga's great if you're following some sort of religious practice that uses yoga, but it's also good for you if you don't. So it's just good all around. And the thing with meditation is it can also help you with visualization. Now, I'm not going to go off into the whole kind of theory of abundance or laws of attraction. That's to me a whole nother thing. But the reality is that if you spend time clearing your mind, concentrating either on visualizing what you would like to achieve, who you would like to be, what it would be like to be successful as an artist, that puts you in a frame of mind that makes your day go better. And it also allows you to practice what it will feel like to be a success. They have done studies with athletes to where an athlete will go out and practice a whole lot. I think the study was on basketball. And they would practice every day shooting free throws. And then there was a group that just meditated and visualized making free throws. And there were those who didn't either. And then when they put them all together, it comes to find out that obviously the people who do the physical practice, that memory, that muscle memory of shooting baskets over and over again, did better. But the group that just visualized shooting baskets did almost as well. And they found that for performance in running and other sports, and in businesses are now using this a lot because it can really improve your productivity as well as your well-being. So incorporate some meditation into your daily practice because it's really going to help you, with or without religion. A lot of healthy living has to do with our brain, our emotions. We reached out to psychologist, artist, and very dear friend, Dr. Kimberly Harrison from the Conative Group, and she sat down and had a chat about keeping ourselves mentally fit during this strange time, though it's really good advice anytime. I want to welcome you, Dr. Kimberly Harrison. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this. I know it's kind of last minute, but not only are you an esteemed professional, but you're also a good friend, so we do appreciate that. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your practice?
Absolutely. I'm a clinical psychologist who practices in Houston, Texas, and I work with people of all ages on a variety of issues. I'm also a professional artist, and so I'm very active in the arts community and working with artists who are struggling during this time with the loss of business and the things that have been going on, and am in solidarity with everyone who's dealing with this unprecedented change.
I wondered if you could tell us a little bit about the kind of pitfalls. What are we up against when we're staying at home and changing our lives so dramatically?
I think there's been a few stages of this event as it's unfolded. At first, I saw a lot of people addressing it kind of like vacation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We'll just take some time off. We'll eat a little more. We'll watch a little more television, play some more video games, and we'll just be on vacation. Then we started moving into the understanding that, wow, this might last a while. We've got to have some sort of structure or semblance of order within our households. And so I saw people kind of going the other direction, like a pendulum swinging and having rigid schedules and trying to work out twice as much as they ever would and taking on multiple projects that after a while became overwhelming. And so we see these emotional responses, first kind of a denial of the situation, and then a hypervigilance in response to the situation. And now after we're several weeks in, I see a shift once more. Now I see a little bit more of the pendulum settling in the middle. And in the middle, we have to balance a new normal. What's reality now? What makes sense for me on a day-to-day basis now, while still understanding that there's things that have to get done, but we might not have to be as rigid or perfectionistic as we would at other times.
There is a bit of a nervousness in me that whatever normal looked like before won't be there when I get back.
I think that's a common feeling right now. Anxiety is pervasive, and how can it not be? We have many things that are scary. We have this virus that no one's ever encountered before, and it's spreading like wildfire. I don't know about you, but that scares me. It is scary. It's anxiety producing. And along with that, life as we know it has disappeared. Just doing simple things like going to the grocery store are now anxiety producing.
Absolutely.
Not being able to count on our income is a huge anxiety. I don't know about anyone else, but the ability to pay our bills is something that provides a sense of security. And when that's gone, we then wonder, Are we going to be able to keep our homes or keep our businesses afloat? Or if we have employees, keep the employees involved, and all of these things. And then that's just present. That's present worry. And then we have the future worry. Like, what's going to happen when this is all over? Is there going to be anything left for me to salvage? So sure, there's a lot of anxiety right now, and learning how to balance it, deal with it, and also allow some of it to coexist, I think is the key. It's about balance right now.
Excellent. And are there some strategies that we can do to find that kind of balance?
Absolutely. As a cognitive behavioral therapist, the heart and soul of what I do is help people reinterpret events so that the brain doesn't weigh heavily on the negative, because thoughts trigger your feelings, and then your feelings trigger what you do. You can't really change an action when you're in the middle of it. It's usually their reactions. And you can't change a feeling. If someone is really worried and you say, stop worrying, well, they usually get a little angry at you. It's not something people generally can do. But if you learn strategies for reinterpreting the negative thoughts, such as, this is the end of the world, I'll never have normal again, what's going to happen when this is all over? It's not going to be manageable. If we learn to reinterpret those thoughts, then we have a chance of moving beyond the pervasive anxiety that colors everything that we're looking at.
Are there any kind of warning signs that we should look for? Are there some signals?
Sure, there are many signs. The number one thing to look for is something that's not typical for you. Besides anxiety right now, most of us are grieving. And grief is a process. We have all lost something. I don't know anyone, not only in the United States, but around the world, who hasn't lost something. We've lost freedoms, we've lost security, we've lost our health. Many of us have lost loved ones. We've had many losses. But unlike a death that once it occurs, then we can start healing and moving forward, we're still in the middle of this. And so we're grieving every day. So anxiety, grief, sometimes depression comes out of that. They all have some common features: increased irritability, sometimes overall sadness, eating too much, sleeping too much. A lot of times we see the physical signs and kind of in a lethargy that takes place. And so if it's not our normal behavior, if it's not our normal way of feeling and looking at things, it's a sign that something's off balance. Mm-hmm. The good news is, once you identify that, there are things you can do.
Can you give us a couple of examples? What are a couple of strategies that might help to alleviate?
I like to use a tool called the wellness wheel. A wellness wheel helps a person make sure they have balance in their life. Mm-hmm. And so the wellness wheel that I tend to use has a physical category. So are you exercising? Mm-hmm. Physical exercise is one of the best things all of us can do right now. And you'll find most of the time that the act of movement makes you feel better. Next category that I think is really important is the emotional category. And that's where you take stock. How am I feeling? Find ways to explore those feelings, share those feelings. It's a great time with all of us to have conversations. We have more time. We have the technology. It kind of leads into the next category, which is social. And I think that's something that everybody is really kind of frazzled and yet excited about, because we've found that really we can stay connected. We see things like drive-by birthday parties and Zoom tea parties and all kinds of things that we wouldn't have done otherwise. We also have environmental. How many of us have reorganized that junk drawer? I know I'm guilty, I did it. So organization, that's that environmental piece that's really important with wellness. And then we have the spiritual piece.
Mhm.
The spiritual is different for everybody.
Mhm.
It just is.
Mhm.
Spiritual, from a wellness sense, means something bigger than me is going on. When we see ourselves in relation to something bigger, then what's going on can be a bit more manageable because we know we don't have to be in charge of everything. The last piece of the wellness wheel that I think is really important, and especially for entrepreneurs, creatives, anybody who has a business, it's super important. And that's the financial piece.
Mhm.
This is a time to think about growing our business. I hear a lot of creatives regularly talking about how they wish they had time to do more marketing,
Yeah.
or they weren't sure which platforms were most effective, or they didn't know where to get some more business, and there wasn't quite as much foot traffic through the studios. Well, here's a chance. Here's the chance to do that research, to make those connections, to take some online classes, figure out how to do it better so that when we get back to whatever normal is, we'll be able to function at a higher level. There's one more, intellectual. Isn't this a great time to read some new books? Take some free online courses. There's a plethora of them right now. And we have time right now to enhance our personal intellectual pursuits. What are we into? How can we find out more? Now, the one thing you may wonder, here we are talking about creatives that I haven't mentioned, is creativity.
Mhm.
How do you nurture creativity? Well, my stance is that an artist uses all of these pieces of wellness that we've already discussed,
Mhm.
and creativity is at the center of that.
Mhm.
Creativity is birthed when we use our brains. We look about the social world. We look at the environment. We take a look at what's the right part of our creativity for our business pursuits. When we put all of these things together, then we become true creatives.
Tell me a little bit about your art and your art practice, and maybe how people can contact you.
My art tends to be very expressive art. You can see behind me. It's called feelings, by the way. And feelings are messy. A lot of
And
my
beautiful.
art and beautiful, right? And they're up and down and all over the place. And I tend to do very expressive, more abstract work to help me with my emotional journey. My studio's in the Sabine Street Galleries at Sawyer Yards in Houston, and I'm just so fortunate to be surrounded by so many inspirational artists of every genre. We just have a rich community, and my art also ties into my psychology practice because I also do art therapy.
Mhm.
I find it's a wonderful way to help people who are struggling to find emotional balance.
We do thank you very, very much. I know that even though things are quiet, and I know that you are as busy as you can be, so I do appreciate your time. And it's good to see you. We haven't seen you since this began, other than your videos.
And we've been exchanging vlogs, haven't we?
Yes, exactly. But again, thank you so much for your great insights and for being you. We sure appreciate you as our friend as well. So thanks again, and we will talk to you in person as soon as we can.
Soon, I hope. Thanks, guys.
Thanks so much for watching today. Be sure and hit that like button and that subscription button, and help us out on Patreon if you can. Have a great week, stay safe, and take care of mind and body until we meet again.